Hey kids, Phineas T. Walsh here. Welcome to The Fallout Shelter, a brand new children's show just for you. Kids, I mean. The rest of you, you know who I'm talking about. Bye! Recognize that sound, don't you? That's the sound of springing. Now some would say that spring is sprung, it's over. But to me, it's still springing. And it will for the rest of the month. You see, I'm making this video in the merry, merry month of May, which is the last month of spring. Spring occurring in the months of March, April, and May. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where I live. If you lived in the Southern Hemisphere, it's reversed. Spring would occur in the months of September, October, and November, which would be fall in the Northern Hemisphere. But I get ahead of myself. All this talk of hemispheres. A hemisphere means half of a sphere. The sphere, in this case, being Earth, our home. Now, the Earth is the third of 8 planets orbiting the Sun in our solar system. You know, until recently, there were 9 planets in it. But that's another story, isn't it? Never mind. Earth. There's an imaginary line running around the middle of Earth called the equator that divides the planet into the northern and southern hemispheres. The Earth rotates on an axis, which is another imaginary line running through the planet between the North Pole and the South Pole. This axis is tilted ever so slightly, and this tilt is the reason we enjoy our 4 seasons. As you can see in this animation, our axis always tilts in the same direction. So, for several months of the year, one hemisphere receives more sunlight than the other. When the axis tilts away from the sun, it's winter in the northern hemisphere and summer in the southern hemisphere. When the axis tilts toward the sun, it's reversed. Summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. What about fall? What about spring, you ask? Well, as the Earth orbits the sun, there are several months between winter and summer when the axis tilts neither away nor toward, but is sideways. During these months, both hemispheres receive equal amounts of sunlight. As the northern hemisphere leaves its winter season, it pulls up next to the sun and enters its spring season, while the southern hemisphere enters its fall season. As the northern hemisphere leaves its summer season, it pulls up next to the sun and enters its fall season, while the southern hemisphere enters its, that's right, its spring season, and so on, and so on, and so on. Oh! Hi, Joe. No, I didn't forget. I'm just letting the kids know a little about the seasons before we go out and see spring. You ready for your walkie walk? Here, let's put your collar on. Here you go. Good boy. Well, girls and boys, it seems Joey D is ready to go. How about you? Okay, let's do it then. It's a little hot outside, so I think I'm going to take my Mr. Rogers sweater off. I'll see you outside once I hang it up. Well, here we are outside at last. Good job, Joey. You got me out of the house. Good boy. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Joey D and I live on the northern hemisphere. To be more specific, we live in the United States. To be even more specific, we live on the Upper West Side of New York City. That's what all this noise is about. And behind me is the American Museum of Natural History. And yes, it's the same museum from Night at the Museum, which I understand there's a new one coming out. We'll have to check it out. I have never spent the night at the museum, which is a question people ask me. But then again, after seeing what goes on there after hours, would you spend the night in the museum? I didn't think so. But I think we should get going. Central Park is a block away, and spring is awaiting us. Oh, by the way, I don't want you trying this at home, okay? Now, Joey has been through lots of training, and then I trained him a little more to walk without a leash in the city. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of trust to walk without a leash, especially in the city. So if you want to talk about this sometime, let me know, and we will talk about it in an episode, okay? But for now, let's just walk. Central Park was waiting. I can't wait for you to see Central Park in spring.